Welcome to the morning. Happy Friday, March 28th. I want to talk about something I didn't think I'd ever be talking about, which is the congressional race, the special election to replace Mike Waltz. He's been in the news a lot, but he was a Florida congressman, to replace Mike Waltz in the 6th Congressional District of Florida. Now, this is not a competitive district. Waltz got reelected in 2024, 66-33. He won by more than 30 points. It's an overwhelmingly Donald Trump district. It's not a place that I think anyone had on their map. But when Mike Waltz became National Security Advisor, the seat became open. It became vacant. They needed a member of Congress. And so there is a special election on Tuesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Draw your own conclusions in that race, in that seat. Here's what's remarkable. There is a poll kicking around by Tony Fabrizio, who is Donald Trump's pollster, that has the Democratic candidate at 44% and the Republican candidate, a guy named Randy Fine, a state senator, at 41%. Now, does that mean that the Republicans are going to lose the seat? No, not necessarily. Poll could be wrong. Poll could just suggest it's a close race. Fine, the Republican could wind up eking it out. But the very fact that we are talking about the Republican eking it out in a district that Mike Waltz won by 30 points, that Donald Trump won overwhelmingly a couple months ago, speaks to a few things. So, one, I think the political environment is pretty good for Democrats right now. This doesn't mean the Democratic brand is good. It's not. It's in terrible shape. But voters are uneasy. There's uncertainty about the economy. Donald Trump's favorability numbers aren't what they once were. And so when you have a very low turnout election, like all these special elections will be, there's the possibility that you have a really motivated Democratic base and a kind of happy Republican base. They control everything, right? They control the House, the White House, the Senate. They don't really have a reason to be angry or upset, so maybe they don't turn out as much in a random election on April 1st. I think the other thing that's going on here, too, so it's not just that Republicans are happy, there's uncertainty in the electorate broadly, and Democrats are angry and want to send a message. It's also that candidates matter, and Randy Fine appears to be a pretty weak candidate. Republicans are sort of rolling their eyes and wondering how he got the nomination. That's their problem. But also, he's just getting pummeled in fundraising. So the Democratic nominee has raised $9 million for this race, which is stunning and speaks to the level of energy in the Democratic base. And Fine has raised less than $1 million. The Democratic nominee, as of mid-March, had $1.2 million to spend on the race. Fine had $92,000 to spend on the race. So these are bad things. So when you get a combination of one party's base super fired up, the other party's base fat and happy, which is what we have right now, uncertainty broadly in the electorate, and some level of unhappiness about Donald Trump and tariffs and how he's handling the economy, and a really, really fired up Democratic base who is pissed off and wants to send a message, that combo, even in a district that should go for Republicans in a low turnout race, can be potentially problematic for the Republican Party. So do I think that Republicans are going to lose race? No, I don't think that they're going to lose. I think Fine might pull it out, but that it is close and that the Democratic nominee does absolutely have a chance at winning, according to a poll done by Donald Trump's pollster, I'll note. And the fact that Donald Trump is making moves, pulling the Elise Stefanik nomination to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, because he is worried, I think, about the possibility of losing this seat and the majority being too tight and not being able to pass anything. You add all that up and you think, there's some there. If Randy Fine, if Republicans lose this Florida 6th district race, what does it tell us? It tells us everything that I just said. Happy Republican base, really angry Democratic base, uncertainty in the electorate, bad candidate versus at least good fundraising candidate, low turnout. Does it tell us that Democrats are going to win back the House in 2026? Probably not. It's probably too early to say that, but I will tell you it would certainly energize them in a major way and make Republicans more and more nervous about the 2026 election. So you never want to say one thing is the barometer. One thing will tell us what's going to happen, particularly a thing that happens 4 months into the term of President Trump. But man, they did not want to have this problem 3 days out from the election, and they quite clearly do have a problem there. So keep an eye on that. Florida's 6th district should not be competitive, clearly is competitive. Whether or not the Democrat wins, whether or not fine the Republican loses, is clearly more competitive than it should be. Let's see what happens. I will be keeping an eye on it, which I did not think I would be saying a month ago. All right, everybody, take care.